Okay, so I'm in the new design file here. I'm in the base wall right. I have the base wall right here. And I want to create the double door wall. So I've already started out by creating an opening in the base wall. And I did that with the base wall right activated so I can keep the timeline a bit neater. And now I want to start out by creating a new assembly. So I'll start out by creating a new component, and I will make the parent this body, the whole assembly. So I'll create the new component, and I will name it door assembly. Okay, so I want to make this an internal component. So I will activate it, and here we have our new assembly. Well, it's not an assembly yet. We need to start adding components inside. So I'll start out by making the door frame, and I will create a sketch on this plane. And I'll project this geometry here. And I will start out by making a center line. And then I'll make a center rectangle. And then I'll just offset this rectangle by about 2 inches. So I'll do -2 inches. And I don't want the frame on the bottom, so I will just cut that off here and here. So here we have our 3 new profiles. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude these profiles. I'll finish the sketch. I'll extrude the profiles, and I will select the 2 object extent type, and I think I'm going to select the 2x4 because we're going to make this frame with 2x4s, and I want to make this a new body. So there we have our door frame. So I'll open up bodies and I'll name it door frame. And I'll just make this a new component from bodies, and I'll make this a new component, and that will start out our assembly. And now I want to make the doors, so I will keep the door assembly activated, and then I'll go back and create a new sketch. So again, I'll select this plane, and what I want to do is create a rectangle. So let me project this geometry, and I'll create a rectangle. So what I want is a rectangle that goes, so let me project this geometry as well. Rectangle here, and now we split the cutaway into 2 pieces. These will each be a door. So I'll finish the sketch and I will extrude each door independently. So this door will be about 2 inches because the common door is about 2 inches thick, and I'll make this a new component. So I will click OK, and here we have our new component. Let me name it door left. Okay, and I will get the sketch back, and then I'll do 2 inches, new component, and then I'll also name it door right. So here we've started our basic assembly, and now I want to start adding some details to the doors. So for each individual door, I will activate so we can keep the timeline neater. So here we have our left door activated, and I'm just gonna hide the door frame and the base wall assembly, and I'm also gonna hide this sketch here. So what I want to do is I want to get an offset plane, and I want to go about, say, 8 inches offset from the top of the wall, the top of the door, sorry, and I want to make a new sketch. So let me rotate the camera, and I will project this geometry. So what I want to do here is create the little indents on the door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go about, say, 8 inches offset from the door, and I'll go 0.5 inches in, and I'll go, let's do 10 for now and see if we like it. And then I'll do 8 inches, and then I'll do 0.5 by 10 again. So you can see we don't have a little space in the middle, so I'm gonna adjust these. So I'll make them 5 and 5, and let's do 8 inches for these indents. Okay, so that looks good to me. So now we can have the door frame and the base wall in view again. And now what I'll do is I'll actually hide the door, and I'll select these two profiles, and I will extrude them with the door now. And I'll extrude them about, let's do about 15 inches. So I will cut, and then I want to make a new offset plane on the bottom of the door. So let's hide the door frame again and the base wall. So I'll do 8 inches again, -8 inches. And then I'll make a rectangular pattern for the features that we just made. So I will select this extrude feature, and I'll select this direction, and I will select the plane that we just made. So right about there, and that's okay. So here we have our new door with the features. So I'll unhide all these again, and I will hide this plane. And now I want to add some chamfers to the features. So I'll select all the features, and I'll do about 0.5 inch chamfer. So here we have our door with our new features. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same features to the other door. So now I will activate the right door, and I will hide all the other components. So here I need to unhide the door, and I'll make a new offset plane, -8 inches, just like the other door, and I will make the new sketch. So I will rotate the view, and I will project the geometry again. So I'll go 5 inches like the other door, and I'll do 0.5 by 8. And I'll just do that on the other side as well. 5 inches and 0.5 by 8. Finish the sketch. Now we can extrude. So I will hide the door, select the profiles, unhide the door again, and I will extrude by -15 inches. Okay, so now let me make the offset plane again, and I'll do -8 inches, and now we can create our new rectangular feature. So I'll select the feature we just made and select this direction, and I'll go down to the plane here. There we have our features, and now I'll select the planes and I will do another chamfer. So I'll do 0.5 inches, and there we have our two doors with our features. So I will unhide all the other assemblies and I will go back to our door assembly. Okay, so now what I want to make is the door handle and the lock. So what I'll do is I think I'm going to make the door handle and lock on the left door. So I'll go back and activate the left door. And I will hide the right and the base wall assembly. So I'll create a new sketch here. And I think I'll go up to about halfway. And since it's 5 inches, I'll do 2.5 inches away from the edge of the door, and I'll start by creating the lock. So I think I'll do a maybe 2.5 inch lock. So this is the base plate of the lock, not the actual lock. And then I think I'm gonna do another base plate, so I'll go down about, let's do 4 inches, and then I'll make my rectangle. So I'll do about 1.75 by 3 here, and then I'll go down about 7.5 inches, and then I'll make a 1.75 by 1.75 base plate, and I'll extrude all of these to the same thickness. So I'll select all the profiles. Before that, let's finish the sketch, and I'll select all these profiles, and I think I'll extrude by, let's do 0.25. Yep, that looks good. So I'll make these all new bodies. And here we have our base plates. So I'll start by making the lock now. So let's make this a 2-inch lock. And I'll just extrude that out about 0.5 inches. And I'll start adding some detail. So I'll make a small chamfer here, and I'll add fillets. I'll add fillets here and here. So let's do about 0.1, and then I'll add a chamfer to the base plate right about there. So let's create our keyhole. Okay, so I'll start by making a center rectangle here, and I'll just do 0.5 by 0.1. And in the middle here, I will make another rectangle. I'll do 0.1 by 0.1, and then I'll offset this by 0.1, negative 0.1. And this is the little indentation here, so I'll just trim away these pieces, and we can delete this, and this, and we can also trim these two away. So here we have our little keyhole. So I'll just go in, I'll just do the two objects, and I'll select this plane here. And there we have our lock. So let's start by making the handle. So I'll just create a sketch here, and I will project this geometry, And in the center, I will make a, let's do here, so the center, and let's do 0.35 by 0.35 by 0.1. So now in the center here, let's do 0.35, no, let's do 0.5 by 0.35. So this will add a sort of nice looking shape here when we make the actual handle part. So I will finish this sketch and I'll extrude this part of the handle out, let's say about 0.75. And let me get that sketch back, so I'll go back into sketches. Let me go here and I'll get this sketch back, and I'll extrude this one here about let's see, 5. Let's do 0.4. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to use the revolute feature. So I'll revolve around this axis here, and I'll do a little more than 90, so I'll do say 100, 10 degrees more, and then I'll also revolute around here, this axis, and I'll do a little less than 90 here, so I'll do 80. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna loft these two profiles. So I'm going to go loft, select this profile and this profile, and here we have our handle. So let's go back into bodies, and I will name this lock and handle, and then I'll name this one door. Okay, so actually now I want to start changing the appearance, so I'll start by, let's search for a solid wood, and let's see stained. So maybe let's use this dark maple, and I'll do the door, and yep, that looks good. So I'll select this, and then I want to use a metal, and let's say aluminum, and maybe this rough gray. So let's see how this looks. Maybe a bit lighter. Okay, that's good. So now let's do so for the actual lock itself, I want to do a bit of a darker aluminum. So I'll do the same aluminum and maybe just a tad bit darker here. But now for the actual key part here, I'll do a brass like appearance. So I'll go back into metal, and I'll do brass, and I'll do polished, then I'll select faces here, and I'll just start giving the inside a brass look here, and let's just move around. I'll do the back, all these faces here. And look under, and these three. Okay, so there we have our brass look. And now let's start doing the door frame and the other door. So I'll go back and I'll hide the sketch, and I will go and activate the right door. So let's unhide this, and let's give it the same appearance. Actually, let me hide that construction, and I'll do the same appearance as the other door. So I'll select this dark maple, and I'll give it the same appearance, And now let's select the door frame. So with the door frame, since we're going to use some 2x4s, let's just do an oak, but I'll use a painted oak. I'll use a white painted oak. So I'll do painted, and let's do oak, and let's go for a nice white. So there we have our white, and let's see our door assembly here. So that's looking good, but now I want to add the hinges so that we can create some joints here. So I'll start by creating the hinges for the frame. So I'll activate the door frame, and I will hide all the other doors. So what I want is I want to make an offset plane here. So I'll do, let's go down about 5 inches or so, and then I'll create a new sketch. So let me actually get this left and right door here, and let me project the geometry. So I'll project this, and I'll project this, and I will go back and hide them. Okay, so let me hide this door frame. Actually, let's project these two profiles, and I'll hide the door frame. Oh, I'll have to hide the body. So what I want to make here is the hinges. So I know this is the front of the door. So what I'll do here is I will create a rectangle here. So let's say the door hinge is about 0.25 inches thick. Or actually no, sorry. Let's do 3 inches or 1 inch and 0.25 inches thick. So there you have our hinge, and let's just make a circle here, and I'll just do the same thing over here. So let's do 2 by 0.25, actually 1, and then I'll create the circle, and there we have both our hinges. So what I'll do now is I'll extrude these as new bodies as well, and I will unhide this body, and let's make them about, yeah, let's do 3 inches. And I'll make these new bodies, and I'll do a rectangular pattern here. So I'm gonna I'll select bodies, so I'll do these two here, and I'll select this direction. And actually, before we do this, let's create another offset plane. I'll do 3 inches from the bottom, so 3 inches. And now let's create the rectangular pattern. So I'll do bodies, select these two, and I'll select this direction. And I am going to do 3 hinges, so let's just go down to the plane here, and okay, so there we have our hinges. So now let's create the hinges for each individual door. So I'll select the left door first, and I'll unhide it, and I will actually just project the same geometry here. So let me hide it, and let me create a sketch on here, and let's project this geometry so we can just extrude. So I will select it, finish sketch, and I will hide the door frame again, and I'll get the sketch back here, and let's just extrude. So let's do 3 inches like before, and let's make this a new body. Okay, and now we can create an offset plane on the bottom, -3 inches here, and we can do our rectangular pattern. I have body selected here, and I'll just select this body and these two this direction, and I'll just go down to the plane right there. Okay, and now we can do the right door. So I'll select the right door, I'll hide this left door, and I will unhide both. And now so I'll hide the right door first, and I will create a new sketch on this plane, and I'll just project the geometry again. Here we go. Finish the sketch, and now we can get the door back and hide the frame. And I'll extrude this profile -3 inches, and let's do new body, and let's create another offset plane. So I will do -3 inches, and I have to unhide all the constructions again, so let's hide that one and keep it like that. Okay, let's hide that, and let's use our rectangular pattern tool again. Select this, I'll select this direction, and I'll go down to the plane, and here we have our right door done. So I will go back and select our door assembly here, and I'll unhide everything, and let's start creating some joints. So what I'll do is I'll go up here and I'll select joints, and so first I'm gonna select the door, so I'm gonna get rid of the door frame and the left door, and I'm just gonna select the center of the cylinder, and then I'll go up and select door frame, and I'll do this, and let's make this a revolute motion, and here we have our right door finished. So that's our first joint, and now let's do our second joint. So I'll hide this, and I'll start with the left door here, and I'll create another joint there, and I'll hide the left door, and now get the door frame, and I'll select the cylinder, unhide, and there we have our second door. So here we have our door assembly, and with that we are finished with this right door. So with this modular wall, I just want to talk about some key features about assemblies and components, so you can maybe create your assemblies and components a little easier. So essentially, if you want to maybe animate or create some renders here, you're gonna want some components and some joints. So to make joints, you're gonna need components, and what components are essentially they can be bodies, but most of the times they're just say just a specific part. So say here we have our door, so that would be one component, and here we have our left door, but this left door includes the lock and the handle, so that would just be classified as one component. And then we have our door frame. So with those three components, we can start creating joints, and that's when we start getting assemblies. So I'll create joints with the components, and from there you can start creating animations and explosion views and stuff like that. So with these two sub-assemblies, I can create one assembly, which would be the double door wall, right? And with this assembly here, this whole assembly, we can start adding it to the container, and from there creating more joints and continuing the process. So that's what is really nice about this Fusion 360, because options like these are not really available in Tinkercad, so we get to get some more advanced features. So with that in mind, we can move on to our other doors. But before that, I just want to point out that components are modeled like this little square here. This would represent a component. These would also represent components. And when you have multiple squares, this is when you have an assembly. So here in the base wall right, I have multiple components, and that would make up an assembly. So yeah, now let's head on to our next modular wall example.